Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, Text 20. And this Chapter 18 is the descriptions of how the Lord is worshipped in the different tracts of land in Jambudvip. So we heard about the Lord being worshipped as Hayagriva, and then we heard about the Lord being worshipped in his form as Nishinga. And now we're hearing the prayers and the worship of the Lord in his form as Kamadev, most beautiful Cupid manifestation. And these prayers are by Srimati Lakshmi Devi, Srimati Rama, Lakshmi Devi, Rama. And this is a continuation of her prayers. She's being especially merciful to those that think that their companion, say like women, who think that they'll find shelter in a material husband, that it's an illusion, because actually even the so-called husband is completely dependent on Krishna. So she's shedding a little light on that situation. How to avoid the illusion of thinking a material companion is shelter. And which leads into how in a relationship which is there in Vedic culture, and most people will want to have some companion in life to enjoy with sense gratification, and in most cases raise a family. Then how to avoid the illusion of thinking that just sort of short-circuiting on each other. You're my shelter. No, you're my shelter. Oh, without you. And then reposing all of their love and affection and attachment in each other, which won't help at the time of death. So how that can be purified, and how Krishna, become conscious of Krishna within the relationship. So, because it was interesting, in previous verse, commentary Prabhupada said that Krishna is controlling the senses of both partners. So, trying to enjoy sense gratification, but Krishna is controlling everyone's senses. This is not that the source of one's sense gratification is anyone other than Krishna, in any case. So it was interesting. So this is text 20. It's a continuation of Srimati Rama's prayers, Lakshmi Devi. And she says, he alone, who is never afraid, but who, on the contrary, gives complete shelter to all fearful persons, can actually become a husband and protector. Therefore, my Lord, you are the only husband. No one else can claim this position. If you were not the only husband, you would be afraid of others. Therefore, persons learned in all Vedic literature accept only your lordship as everyone's master, and they think no one else a better husband and protector than you. So here's a little insight into what a husband's duties are, what it means to be a husband. It means a protector. He gives protection to the wife. He's a protector. And we also hear that the wife, her service and her duty to her husband is to protect the husband's senses. So, but in either case, Krishna is the actual protector of everyone's senses. Rishikesh, the Lord within the heart, master of the senses. It's Prabhupada's commentary. Here the meaning of husband or guardian is clearly explained. People want to become a husband, a guardian, a governor, political leader, without knowing the actual meaning of such a superior position. There are many people all over the world, indeed through the universe, who claim for some time that they're husbands, political leaders, guardians, but in due course of time, the Supreme Lord desires their removal from their posts. Careers are immediately finished. Therefore, those who are actually learned and advanced in spiritual life do not accept any leader, husband, or maintainer other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that also goes for the devotees of the Lord, because the Lord, that's how the Lord acts through the devotees. He acts, sometimes he acts directly and appears in incarnation, and then other times he empowers his living entities, or he expands in a unique way. So if the devotee is acting as a husband, then the pure devotee, then it's as good as Krishna. It's like Krishna's the husband. So the position of devotee is as good as Krishna. That's why the spiritual master is the external manifestation of the supersoul within the heart. So when it comes to political leaders or guardians or husbands, whatever, then if that person is a surrendered soul to Krishna, it's as good as having Krishna as the husband, the guardian, or the political leader. So that's what is so desirable for humanity, is that there be leaders and guardians and husbands and governors and political leaders that are as good as Krishna. That is very desirable. Everyone's very peaceful and happy in that way. They make good advancement in spiritual life. So in Kali Yuga, no. No, we can't say that practically anyone is as good as Krishna in Kali Yuga. Because the atmosphere in Kali Yuga is very degraded. So by hearing like this, then we can find some shelter. And that was when the Bhagavatam was spoken. At the sages of Naimisharanya, they could see the coming age of Kali Yuga, of degradation. And because previous to that time, society was really structured very nicely for spiritual life and peaceful existence of material facilities were there for everyone. It wasn't, there weren't horrific crimes being committed and animals being slaughtered in a wholesale way. None of this was going on. Actually, when Maharaj Pariksha came upon personality of Kali, who was attacking a bull, knocking the legs out from under the bull and beating the bull, which is a symbol of religion, it was the first time he'd seen anything like that at all in his kingdom. And that was just one person attacking one animal like that, bull. So, but this gave some indication of what was coming. And of course now, the killing and eating of the innocent animals, especially the cows and bulls, is wholesale and totally supported by the so-called leaders. So, a very degraded age. In many ways, that's just one way, but that's very obvious there. So, speaking of the Bhagavatam at the assembly of the sages of Naimisharanya, hearing from Sutta Goswami, who was present when the Bhagavatam was spoken by Sukadev to Maharaj Pariksit. Sutta Goswami was present, and he heard also. So now he's being asked to speak the Bhagavatam to the sages of Naimisharanya. Why? Because they see the age of Kali progressing, and they are able to understand what's coming, and they want to know what will guide people, what will give some light in this dark age. Because where are the husbands, where are the guardians, where are the political leaders, where are those who take responsibility for others, who are as good as Krishna? They can't be found anywhere. It's a total breakdown of the healthy system of human culture. A total breakdown. A very diseased, miserable state. The whole planet is suffering from all kinds of pollutions and contaminations and lies and cheating. It's a real field day for the devils and the demons. It's a real field day. So where will light be found? It'll be found in the Bhagavatam. So that's what we're reading about. That's what we're hearing. We're hearing Bhagavatam. And Bhagavatam is explaining that real leaders, real husbands, real guardians are as good as Krishna. Because they're surrendered to Krishna. Krishna's representatives. So, Prabhupada's commentary continued. Lord Krishna personally states in Bhagavad Gita, Aham tvam sarva pavibhyo mokshayashami. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Krishna's not afraid of anyone. On the contrary, everyone's afraid of Krishna. Therefore, he can actually give protection to a subordinate living entity. Since so-called leaders or dictators are completely under the control of material nature, they can never give a complete protection to others, although they claim this ability due to their false prestige. Natevid hu swartha gatim hi Vishnu. People do not know that real advancement in life consists of accepting the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one's master, instead of deceiving themselves and others by pretending to be all-powerful. All political leaders, husbands, and guardians should spread the Krishna consciousness movement so that everyone can learn how to surrender to Krishna, Supreme Husband. So these are the prayers. This is Prabhupada's commentary and elaboration on the prayers of Srimati Lakshmi Devi, who is describing the real qualifications of an actual husband. They are as good as Krishna. Prabhupada says they should be spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, which is what Krishna has done and is doing. And when he was his incarnation was manifest 500 years ago as Lord Chaitanya, what was he doing? He was spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, chanting Hare Krishna, hearing about Krishna, tasting remnants of food offered to Krishna, Krishna's mercy in many forms. Visiting the temples, taking darshan of the deities. So, spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, that's what real leaders do. Text 21. Lakshmi Devi continues. My dear Lord, you automatically fulfill all the desires of a woman who worships your lotus feet in pure love. However, if a woman worships your lotus feet for a particular purpose, you also quickly fulfill her desires. But in the end, she becomes broken-hearted and laments. Therefore, one need not worship your lotus feet for some material benefit. Now, it's interesting here that Lakshmi Devi is saying woman, but But we were hearing previously that all the jiva souls are actually prakriti, or like women, because everyone's dependent on Krishna. So Lakshmi Devi is saying here, to fulfill the desires of a woman who worships. It's also the men. It's also the men. If a man worships the Lord's lotus feet for a particular purpose, he also quickly fulfills his desire, but in the end he becomes brokenhearted and laments. So man, woman, the jiva soul it's female by nature. It's not really like a gender issue, because while living in these material bodies, there are gender distinctions. The features are different, the strengths are different, the characteristics are usually different. So that's there for functioning within the material energy. So it's not that one who has a male body is actually a female, but spiritually, everyone in relationship to the Lord is in a subordinate position. Prakriti is to be enjoyed by the Lord. So, but these things are not material, and they sometimes can get a little confusing, because without getting off the bodily platform, it's a little difficult to accept and see. But it is actually the case. So that was described earlier, that the nature of the jiva soul is prakriti, subordinate. Prabhupada's commentary, Sri Rupa Goswami describes pure devotional service as Anyabalasita sunyam jnana kamradyanavritam. One should not worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead to fulfill some material desire for success in fruitive activities or mental speculation. You see, Prabhupada's talking about the jiva soul here, because if you're just talking about women in general aren't interested particularly in fruitive activities or mental speculation. Women in general are looking for a good husband. They have a nice family. In this day and age, they may have to also work and have some sort of a career, but the main focus is the family and the husband and the children, usually. And they're not so interested in mental speculation, philosophy. Not so much. Sometimes, more than others, but in general. So Prabhupada's talking here, he says, one should not worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead to fulfill material desire for success in fruitive activity or mental speculation. So he's talking about everyone, men and women. Although, as we see in the verse, Srimati Lakshmi Devi is addressing women. But because we were discussing previously how everyone is actually female in relationship to the Lord, so Prabhupada's discussing like that. He's talking about men and women. He's talking about the tendencies of the jiva soul to try to approach the Lord for something material. To serve the lotus feet of the Lord means to serve him exactly as he desires. The neophyte devotee is therefore ordered to worship the Lord strictly, according to regulative principles given by the spiritual master in the Shastras. By executing devotional service in that way, he gradually becomes attached to Krishna. When his original dormant love for the Lord becomes manifest, he spontaneously serves the Lord without any motive. This condition is the perfect stage of one's relationship with the Lord. Now that's, in just a very few sentences, Prabhupada is describing how one advances, what happens when one advances in devotional service. The first part, he's explaining that a neophyte someone new who's just taking to the path. You know, when we're just taking to the path of devotional service, we really haven't heard very much about Krishna. We really don't know too much about Krishna. We've been entangled in the material energy for so long. We have so many patterns of behavior and ways of thinking that are influenced by the three modes of material nature. When this happens, then we automatically react in this way. We have so much conditioning. So in the very beginning, the spiritual master gives very explicit instructions how to act according to regulative principles. And of course, the four basic regulative principles are no eating meat, fish, or eggs, no intoxicants, coffee, tea, nicotine, all intoxication has to be avoided and given up. No illicit sex, and that is a very popular recreational sport in the material world, especially the Western world. Oh my God! So every movie, every song. I mean, this is what sells toothpaste. But it must be given up. It doesn't say no sex. Responsible sex life in marriage for producing and raising a nice family. So that's usually a pretty big one for anyone who's been functioning in the material world for eons, and especially now in the Western society. It's very difficult. But this must be controlled and given up. Illicit sex. And no gambling. And that's another one, mental speculation. Gambling takes many forms. Gambling is also trying to get money by not working for it. Is also a form of gambling. And people, they get a few pennies, they run to the store and they buy the lottery ticket. They're going to get something for nothing. It's a form of gambling. And also mental speculation. Maybe the truth is like this, and maybe the truth is like that, and speculating. So these things are to be given up. So under strict regulative principles, that's the negative side. Then there are other regulative principles. There's the positive side, which is chant a prescribed number of rounds, rise at a certain time during the day, hear and chant regularly from the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita and Chaitanya Charitamrita, to offer the food in a certain way, reciting certain mantras. These are all to regulate the devotee's life so that they are not tossed and turned by the material conditioning they've been subjected to for so long, they've taken part in for so long. So now their activities are going to change. And I remember hearing an interesting little Vishnu Janan Swami, was a very popular devotee early on. His chanting and singing is absolutely captivating. It's a wonderful devotional mood. He was explaining one time how he saw how great the mercy is of the Lord, that it works like this. And it was a real simple little example he gave, but it really does capture it. That he was feeling a little lazy, and he wanted to sleep a little more than necessary, and he felt he was drifting off into thinking about sensual things, and then he looked at the clock and he realized, oh, it's time for me to do my service, my duty. It's time for the artik. And so that saved him. His time had already been committed to Krishna. So that's how regulative devotional service works, is your time is already committed, which means you don't have time to indulge in things that are going to take you away from Krishna, because the commitment is already there, commitment to the spiritual master, and commitment to follow he's prescribed certain activities and duties. And so to follow those. And in a temple structure, then the authorities, the temple authorities, oversee that everything is running smoothly and the devotees are engaging in their regulative devotional service, whether it's cooking at a certain time for the deity, or going on Sankirtan, or cleaning the temple, or visiting the homes of people, or running the temple store, or giving the class, whatever. The activities, they're according to a schedule, a time. And so time for other things is just not there. And it's all regulative. So that's the great mercy of the spiritual master, and that is regulative devotional service. So Prabhupada says, after he's talking about regulative principles given by the spiritual master, he says, by executing devotional service in that way, devotee gradually becomes attached to Krishna. It happens. They actually become attached to Krishna. They don't even think about those other things anymore. There's no attraction. The conditioning winds down. Another example I remember hearing is about the electric fan. When it's plugged into the wall, the blades are going around, electric fan. And when the plug is pulled out, there's no more, it's not being fed any energy anymore, but the blades still go around until they wind down. So practicing regulative devotional service, maybe thought of like that not engaging in material activities anymore, and it's not being fed, the material activities aren't being fed, not engaging in things that are going to take a person away from Krishna. Illicit sex, gambling, like that, not being engaging in those things. And gradually, even the attraction for them is winding down. And another attachment is developing. Attachment to Krishna. By hearing about Krishna, serving Krishna, associating with Krishna's devotees, tasting Krishna's mercy in different forms, the senses engaged in Krishna, then dormant love for Krishna becomes manifest. When we become attached to Krishna as a person, his personality. Actually, there are persons who know Krishna's personality and don't like Krishna. They're demons. Sishupal, he didn't like Krishna. Pandraka, he was envious. He wanted to be Krishna. Made believe he was Krishna. Kamsa, he didn't like Krishna because Krishna was more powerful than he was. He didn't like that. He didn't like Krishna. And they denigrate Krishna's personality and his activities. Now he's just a coward boy. Like this. Even Lord Brahma had a tinge of that. He didn't appreciate Krishna's activities as a little coward boy until he challenged Krishna by taking away all of Krishna's friends and cows and hiding them to see what Krishna would do if he really was who he said he was. Little coward boy. And oops, he was. Krishna manifested some incredible, wonderful displays of his potency. Expanded himself into the cows and cowherd boys that Brahma had stolen. He himself personally took their positions and then revealed to Lord Brahma the Vishnu forms that were thus manifest. Oh, Lord Brahma was, what did I do? Oh my Lord, please forgive me. Such a fool. So Lord Krishna didn't take Brahma seriously. He just had a little fun with him like that. So we become attached to Krishna, Krishna's personalities, Krishna's wonderful activities. That's how the love develops. So then the service to Krishna is not based on trying to avoid the tendencies for material attraction, because those tendencies for material attraction are completely overshadowed, completely overridden by attachment for Krishna. Because the taste of devotional service to the Lord is so much higher once one gets a taste. So by following the regulative principles and under the direction of the spiritual master, regulated devotional service, one has the opportunity to develop a taste for Krishna. Begin to relish Krishna within the heart. And then serves Krishna, has no motive. There's no ulterior motive. Would never approach Krishna for anything other than devotional service to the Lord, not interested in anything else. Prabhupada says further, this condition is the perfect stage of one's relationship with the Lord. And this next verse is very important. The Lord then looks after the comfort and security of his devotee without being asked. As long as we're in a material body, that concern is always there. How will I support myself? Where will the money come from? And so, conditioned soul is making so many arrangements on their own to try to have what they need to be comfortable and secure. But Krishna says he looks after the comfort and security of his devotee without being asked. Krishna promises in the Bhagavad Gita, Ananyas chintyanto mam ye jana parpashate tesham nitya biyuktanam yoga shemam vahamyaham. The Supreme Lord personally takes care of anyone who's completely engaged in his devotional service. Whatever he has, the Lord protects. Whatever he needs, the Lord supplies. Therefore, why should one bother the Lord for something material? Such prayers are unnecessary. That is the stage the devotee wants to be, at that stage. Have complete faith in the Lord, complete trust in the Lord. Now that's not a license for being lazy and not doing anything. But that is one of the benefits of being engaged in devotional service to the Lord. That the Lord wants, Krishna wants us to engage in his service, in devotional service. He wants that. And when he sees someone who is wanting that, then the Lord relieves them of this material anxiety. Krishna. And that's where we want to be. We want to be at that level, at that stage, where we don't have that material distress. What's going to happen to me? What do you mean, what's going to happen to you? You're not this body. You're spirit. And Krishna is the Supreme Spirit. And we're hearing how Krishna is controlling everything. Supplying everything to everyone. So one who surrenders completely to Krishna, Krishna is not going to supply what they need. He says, I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. So, Hare Krishna, the only business of the devotee is to engage in devotional service and depend on Krishna.